And welcome back, folks. This is U.S. Home Talk. We are live almost every Wednesday at noon Central Standard Time. We had last week off. Happy spring break to everybody. We got a good show planned this morning. We're going to be talking about buyers. And as a buyer, you've got to decide, are you going new or are you going existing? Today, we're going to be talking about the pros and cons of each. Best way to get hold of us anytime during the week, folks, is our website, ushometalk.com. You can connect directly with myself, Marcus, Michael Mortgage, Michael Overson, the great Evan Little, producer of all the great podcasts on the planet, and, of course, all of our fantastic partners as well. We've got some great tools on ushometalk.com. Buying, selling, investing, financing, refinancing, new construction, commercial, land, pretty much anything and everything real estate related. Go check it out. We have a real estate hotline number during the show, which you can text in your questions. That number is also our 24/7, 365 real estate hotline number. You can, it's a hot number. It's a hot hotline. And you can connect directly with Marcus, myself, Mike, Evan, and everyone else. So that number, again, if you have questions during the show, you can either ask those via Facebook or YouTube, however you are tuning in live. The text-in line with questions during the show is 612-234-7585. Again, that is 612-234-7585. Jason Walgrave here with Walgrave Real Estate Group and the Minnesota Real Estate Team at RE/MAX Advantage Plus. We've got the great Marcus Walgrave with Hague Realtors covering the mighty Sioux Empire real estate market. And he dabbles a little bit in the Minnesota border towns as well. You don't do any Iowa business, do you?
I do not do any Iowa business, but the brokerage I work for, Hague Realtors, we are licensed in Iowa. So as always, if you guys need a referral into an area that maybe Jason and I do not actively service in, we will be able to help you find a absolute top tier realtor or whoever you're really looking for in that area. So we got your back.
That's a great point, Marcus. We've got a network of over 100,000 real estate agents throughout the United States, and whatever market you are in, whatever metro or small town or whatever it is, we'll set you up with a top agent in that area. Make sure that you're taken care of. And of course, Mike can service all of your financing, mortgage needs throughout the U.S. I think there's only a couple states that he doesn't do. I can't remember which ones. I think he does Alaska, so I don't think that's one of the two exclusions. But
was it like Alaska and New York? Was it like New York really tough or something like that? There was some incredible
regulations.
Regulations that he had to do to do business in New York.
Yeah,
I feel like I remember that.
I think you're right. I think New York is on there. So, but Again, folks, we appreciate however you tune in, whether it's live during the show. Feel free to ask any questions, or if it's later in the week, which I think most people tune in when they want to tune in. That's the beautiful thing about a podcast and streaming and syndicating after the show is that wherever you find your podcast, you're going to find U.S. Home Talk, and you can catch our show anytime, whatever's convenient for you. So, again, today we're talking about home buying decisions, new or existing. And again, phone lines are open with questions. You can text those questions to 612-234-7585. That is the text line number. All right. What do you think, Marcus? You want to start with existing or new?
I think we better do existing.
That's what I was thinking too.
Yep.
That's what I was thinking too. That was not the order that they came in, but I agree. Let's start with existing. All right, let's talk about pros of buying an existing home. We're going to talk about pros first. Lower priced options available. I think this is probably one of the leading driving factors for why folks choose existing over new is they're probably going to be better priced. And so you can spend a little bit less money today. We'll talk later in the show about really the overall differences of existing versus new. And if you take a look at a, 7, 8, 9, 10 year stay and what that means. But that is one of the pros is lower priced options available. Thoughts on that,
Yeah,
Marcus?
yeah. I mean, when you kind of think about it, you talk about those years, right, on a home, and one of the reasons why pre-existing homes are more affordable is because there might be a little work that you need to do on it, some dated appliances or interior design, whatever it might be. The cost to build those structures were more affordable 10 years ago than they are today, excuse me. And everything has a life, right? I mean, you look at like kitchen appliances, they seem to be dying a lot quicker than they used to, but ACs 15, 20 years, furnaces 25 to 30 years, water heaters 10 to 12. When you start getting close to the life expectancy of some big ticket items, yes, they're still working, and maybe the current owner has done a really good job annually servicing these type of appliances and mechanical items, but they're still old, and
Yeah.
that's kind of has that used price on it. So
Yeah, and I think obviously you're going to spend more on a brand new car than you are on a used vehicle, right? And so,
yeah,
similar to buying a home.
thankfully, it's not the same in terms of like when you buy a new car. What do they say when you pull out of the parking lot? It like loses like 40% of the value. Not the case with real estate.
No,
If
thank goodness.
you buy a brand new home and you move in that day, it doesn't drop 40%.
Oh, thank goodness.
But but yeah, I think in general, right? Anything brand new is going to be more expensive.
If you're thinking about buying existing, we're talking about pros right now. First one was lower priced options available. Number two, established neighborhoods. And I think this is a big one for folks. We have a lot of buyers that we work with, and they, although they like the idea of a new home, they don't like the idea of a new neighborhood. And so an established neighborhood, that comes with some potential benefits. Included in that are mature landscaping, right? And so a lot of times newer neighborhoods, sometimes they build these new developments in an open field. Maybe it was a cornfield, or so there's not much for mature landscaping. If you've got a development that has an HOA, or it's when it's new, it's less. I think there's less established relationships, with the HOA. Our neighborhood is that we're in. I think that was the development of that neighborhood started about 25 years ago. And I can tell you that in the last couple years, we've had a whole new number of board members on the HOA, and they've really revived it. They've got events every month, for the family and the kids. They got live music. I mean, they're doing a really good job of taking advantage of a neighborhood that's established and bringing people together. So another one on our list of pros for deciding existing home is it's move-in ready. You don't need to wait for it to be built. And so, a lot of homes that are established, everything's done, whether it's the landscaping, or, maybe they did some additional landscaping features in the back, or it's got the basement finished. And so, move-in ready can be really appealing to buyers, and especially if you've got, maybe you've got a dual income household, and where both folks are, they've got busy full-time jobs, and then you throw a couple, 2, 3 kids on top of that, and it's, they might not have time to be finished in the basement or working on landscaping projects. So one of the other pros of buying an existing home is move-in ready.
Yeah, move-in ready. You kind of talk about that landscaping piece, right? And it usually you kind of tell the age of a development by looking at the trees. Thankfully, like the city of Sioux Falls, where I do the majority of my business, makes up the pretty much the majority of the market in the Sioux Empire. Just passed recently a city code saying, hey, developers, you have to have, the builders have to plant at least two trees. I think it's two trees, or at the might be based on the linear feet of the frontage, prior to the city granting an occupancy certificate.
Mm-hmm.
So it's kind of like forcing the hand, and you'll see that, like, prior to that, we'll go through some neighborhoods, and it's just like you said. I mean, you have some dual incomes. Maybe you got a young family, you got a lot of busy stuff. Probably the last thing on the thing to do on the weekend is to, like, hey, let's make sure we start planting some trees. Yeah. And you'll go through some neighborhoods that are 15, 20 years old, and the handful of, or the couple dozen homes that did plant trees, I mean, they are starting to look, really mature, yeah. But then there's still whole cul-de-sacs without a tree in it. Mm-hmm. And so, there's definitely a lot of value to be able to kind of come into that turnkey neighborhood and not have to put a lot of effort into it. And mm-hmm. There's benefits to it.
Talking about existing versus new. If you're a buyer, pros and cons of each. Last on our pro list of existing home purchases, there's an opportunity for value add-on potential with remodels and cosmetic updates. And so I think there's, we've seen a lot of those. We have clients, we have buyers that come to us and they say, look, I'm looking for a home that needs a significant remodel. I'm looking for a home that does not have a finished basement. I want to build some equity. I want to build some sweat equity. And so, we see this, especially on lakeshore properties where you've got a really older home and it's dated, and and the finishings and the inside are dated, and someone comes in and they say, man, I can buy that house. I can gut the inside, I can make it feel nearly brand new. And I can build some equity. I can build some sweat equity. And so I think there's opportunity with remodels and cosmetic updates to increase your home's value and put you in a good spot.
You guys have, you and Mike have always kind of talked about it. Was your rule of three? Like if there's $10,000 worth of work to be done, a buyer is going to want to be able to purchase that home for $30,000 less than that. And I think that's kind of what you're getting at, right, Jason? I mean, yes. If there's $100,000 worth of updates and renovation work to be done on a home, again, not because it needs it, but maybe just because you want to kind of bring it up to a trendy, modern style interior, exterior look or whatever, you put $100,000 into it. There's could be that great opportunity to turn around, and now you've increased the value by $300,000. So that couple $100,000 by bringing it into today's trendy styles. A lot of great potential.
We're talking about buying existing versus buying new. Now let's talk about some cons to buying an existing home. I think this is number one on the list, and it makes a lot of sense. Outdated floor plans. Oh man, we see that all the time. We go into maybe it's got really nice curb appeal, and you go into the house and the floor plan is just, it's, whether it's choppy or it's just, it doesn't. I mean, I've been into a home that has 4,000 square feet, and it felt smaller than a home that had 3,000 square feet, because the 3,000 square foot home had a better floor plan. It was more updated. It's more of what most people are looking for as far as lifestyle and how they live. And so as far as cons go, that's one of the main ones is outdated floor plans.
And that can get spendy, right? I mean, to ask a contractor, say, hey, we're talking about moving some walls, maybe adding some walls, and a contractor doesn't know what's behind those walls. So, they're going to do their best to give you their best estimate in terms of like what that project is. But I mean, every contractor that I've, been around in terms of talking about maybe creating new floor plans on existing floor plans, they always end it with we're not really going to know until we break into the wall. Yeah. So we're pretty confident because we have, 30, 40 years of experience. So we're confident in our estimate. However, our disclosure is that there is unknown behind that wall. And if it's nothing that we were that we weren't already expecting, then we're going to be pretty close to our spot on our estimate. But if it's a big old mess, then that cost can go up pretty quick.
It sure can. More repairs and maintenance. Talking about the cons of buying existing. More repairs and maintenance. Marcus just talked about this a little bit. Yeah, I mean, things have a life, right? And so furnaces and air conditioners and water heaters and windows and siding and roof and the appliances. The list goes on. So certainly more repairs and maintenance required in an existing home. The older the home is, the more likely, the more repairs and maintenance that you'll have. Higher utility bills, and this is because today's homes have, more than ever, the energy efficient, whether it's the insulation and the windows and the doors, or the energy efficient appliances and furnace and AC. There's higher utility bills. I mean, Mike gave this example just a couple weeks ago. He went from an existing home and into a new construction home with about 25% more square feet, and his utility bills went down 25%, or whatever the numbers were. It was something like that. And so it was like, he was like, whoa, we got a bigger house, but our bills are less on
Yeah.
on the utilities. And that's because homes today are more efficient and everything that goes along with that.
I had a great experience to just literally dealt with that yesterday. I met some clients in the city where they have some properties, and we went into 3 of their properties, and they're older homes. If I were to guess, probably in that 60 to 70-year-old homes, and one of them, just because of the nature of the chimney, had need to be taken down. It was original chimney, so that had to be taken down. So one of them was a total gut job.
Mm.
They took everything out, and then they had sprayed insulation and blown in insulation, and we first went into the one that just needed to get cleaned up and get ready for the market. And it was vacant, so we were walking around, and I had my jacket on. I was kind of cold, I thought about maybe putting my stocking cap on, and it was right around high 40s in there, and then we went over to the next one that still didn't even have sheetrock yet. It was just the framing had all the insulation put in, and it was just like, holy buckets, completely different. I mean, I was instantly warmer. It had been 10, 15 degrees warmer in there. And that was just a matter of upgrading insulation. So it was pretty interesting to see. Actually, I shouldn't say that. I'm pretty certain all the windows were replaced as well. So, new windows and then all new insulation pretty much throughout. And it was completely different in terms of, the feel of the property. So.
Awesome. Last on our list of cons, well, 2 actually, less personalized. And so, again, that goes back into some outdated floor plans. One of the biggest disadvantages that I see in older homes is, I think if you go back maybe 25 years, you started to see 9-foot ceilings in the basement. And pretty much before that, it was pretty consistently 8 foot if you were lucky. The older the homes were, now you're talking, 7 foot. I was in a home
7.5, yeah,
7.5. I was in a home last week, and it was it was like probably a 1950s Rambler, a really cute house, great remodel on the kitchen and new siding and new roof, and it was just a really nice house, right? They finished the basement, but there were spots in the basement where they had to build around the ductwork, and it was 6'1". I mean, that was the ceiling height at those spots. So I'm in the basement, I'm doing this, and and the guy, the owner, I think he was probably about maybe 6 foot, because he didn't have to duck at all. And so I'm
Yep.
6'3", and I'm the whole time I'm and again, it's not a huge deal, but certainly if there's no way I'm ever going to buy a home that I have to duck in the basement. You know what I mean? And so it is, 8 foot, 7 foot, 6.5. And in this case, it was like 6'1" in spots. And so, You put 9-foot ceilings in your basement, folks, and it is not going to feel like a basement. So
Yeah. No, and for resale, I mean that's always
yes.
something too. I mean, I've never gone taking a client on a home tours and going to a base and they'd be like, these ceilings are a little too tall for me, and that never happens. So this is kind of a safe bet, right?
Good point. Good point. Last on our cons, we're talking about buying existing versus buying new. Existing homes on the cons. Last one is competition from other buyers. Look, there's more homes. There's more existing homes in that starter price range. And so, and there's more buyers in that starter price range, and there's more investors buying in that price range. And so, you're going to have more competition in the existing home market in many cases, and that is that's last on the cons list. Let's take a look at new
Last
construction.
on the cons list, but maybe the most important for a lot of buyers out there, right?
Well, you're right,
It
Marcus.
can get super competitive in
Yes.
those entry level pre-existing homes, and I mean, you kind of made the comment about investors, and I mean, you can look at Wall Street. Everybody is very, very bullish about real estate in terms of that sector, that starter home. So
Yeah.
if they can get their hands on it and put renters in there, that they're going to do very well. So first time home buyers they got quite a bit of competition. I would argue probably more competition today than ever before.
I would agree. Yep, I would agree. All right, that was existing. The pros and cons of buying an existing home. Let's take a look at pros and cons of buying a new home. Folks, best way to get hold of us anytime is our website, ushometalk.com. We've got a real estate hotline number that is 24/7, 365. During the show, you can text in your questions or you can call that number at any time. It is 612 234 7585. Again, 612 234 7585. And be sure to check out our website, ushometalk.com. Connect with all our fantastic partners. We do have all of our previous and past shows on there too, so you can check all those out. Again, we do appreciate however it is you tune in, whether it's live or later in the week. We love doing the show, and we love getting some good feedback. So you're thinking about buying a new home. What are the pros of buying a new home? Let's talk about the pros first, and then or should we talk about cons first? Should we switch it up? Let's end on a good note. Let's end on the positive. Let's end on the positive.
We just did some cons. Everybody's in the con mood. So
yeah, let's finish the cons.
Keep it. Yep. Keep it con.
Thinking about buying new. Here's some cons. Higher upfront costs. Yes. It will likely cost you more to buy a new home than it will an existing home. And that is top on the cons list. It's going to cost you a little bit more today. And we'll talk in a minute about what that means over the next 7 to 10 years. On the cons list, we have special financing such as construction loans, often needed. This isn't terribly accurate. I think when you're talking about custom home building, maybe some of the $1 million plus luxury homes, I think this comes into factor where the buyer needs to take out that construction loan to build the home, and then once it's completed, they refinance into a permanent mortgage. And so, anything in that, I mean, what we're seeing up here, pretty much anything in that $800,000 and less, you're not having to do that. The builder's providing the construction loan and the financing. There's no financial benefit either way. And what I mean is whether you take out the construction loan or the builder takes out the construction loan, you're paying for it. You're paying for the cost of that loan. But
if I could jump in, I think that if somebody was like really crunching numbers hard, right? I mean, and the one thing that I've always had people come up with was okay, well, if a builder is willing to take it on, it's likely the builder probably already has multiple construction loans out there. So their interest rate may be a point or higher on said loan. So if you're a consumer out there and you don't have any loans out there, maybe not even a loan on your current residence, you might be able to get that construction loan at a lesser rate, and then you might save some money there. But it's not much. I think that's what when you're really grind out the numbers and you look at it, it's like, okay, well, not a big difference between the two, but possibly it could be. I mean, just very, very specific to the individual.
Longer wait times. If you're buying new, they got to build it. Unless it's a spec home and it's ready to roll, there's generally longer wait times. I mean, most new construction deals that we're doing, you're probably, I don't know, I'm averaging 4 to 6 months, for that, before you're able to close and move in, with the exception of a spec home, one that a builder is built on speculation and it's ready to go. So there's likely going to be longer wait times to when you can close and move in. Often farther from amenities and jobs. And so as you see urban sprawl continuing, these developments are going further and further out. And so that might be further from the airport or further from the mall or further from, some of the things that you consider as amenities or further from your job, and so new construction, they're not building a whole lot of new construction in Minneapolis and St. Paul. They're just not. There certainly are very, very few developments, because the land is already used up.
Yeah.
You got to go out a little bit further. And so,
used up or zoned for something else,
Correct.
So even if there is land there, it is not meant for residential or high density, population type of,
Yes.
of most likely commercial, maybe even industrial up there, I guess.
Yeah.
Yep.
So you might have to go out a little bit further. So keep in mind the cost of that. And then
this is very specific to markets, right? I mean, Jason, you're Twin Cities.
Yep.
I mean, I feel like you've always told me, Twin Cities and Metro. I mean, you guys are what, about 2.5?
About 3 million.
People. Was it?
3 million.
3 million, yeah. And so like the Sioux Empire, right? The Sioux Empire, Sioux Falls and Metro, we're under 300,000.
Yep.
So like, not really comparing apples to apples. If we're on the outskirts of the Sioux Falls area, we're not talking the same commute as the outskirts of the Twin Cities area to the airport. We maybe added 2-3 minutes to our drive, or you maybe added, an hour plus to your drive, or whatever the case might be. So, very, very specific to each market. This is definitely very specific. Has more substance in a bigger market.
Yeah, I would agree 100%. It's funny when you talk about, smaller markets compared to bigger markets. Growing up in Laverne, everything was, how far away are you? Oh, we're 3 miles, or we're 5 miles. Well, living in the cities, I have no idea how many miles. I just know the time, 20 minutes away, 15 minutes away, and so it's because there, obviously a lot more traffic and, it takes longer to get from here to there. So things are referred to as, how far are you? It's referred to as minutes. And in Laverne, how far are you? I'm 3 miles away.
Yeah.
So it's kind of funny.
Definitely.
All right, that was the cons. Now we're gonna end on the pros of buying a new home. Today we've been discussing the difference between existing and new construction if you're a buyer. So let's end on a positive note. Evan, you love it when I end on a positive note, don't you? Yes, Evan. All right. The pros of a new home: modern floor plans, open spaces, flex rooms, and larger windows. This is so very true. Like I mentioned before, I've been in 4,000 square foot homes that felt much smaller than 3,000 square foot homes. It is the windows, how it feels, that design, the openness, the flow, and what we've really seen a huge trend in the last, 5, maybe getting close to 10 years. You go back 10 years ago and more buyers than not were like, give me the biggest house I can get, and so I want a national builder. I want a box and I want as many square feet as I can get, and that's not today's buyer at all. I mean, they're rarely, I mean, I'm thinking even like new buyers, new clients of ours. it's so much less about square feet and more about, floor plan or how it flows, right? And so modern floor plans give you some really great designs, and then you get all the cool stuff, the built-ins, and all the most up-to-date cabinetry and all the cool stuff, right? So modern floor plans, open spaces, flex rooms, larger windows, number one on the list.
It's interesting to say that, right? I mean, you think of like turn of the century homes. I mean,
Hmm.
God, they had some super cool
Yeah.
features, the
Yes.
built-ins and cabinetry and,
Millwork,
and,
and
and
yes.
millwork. Yeah, I mean, just some stained glass windows, and the list can go on and on and on and on. And then but I feel like you're starting to see that now. Like if you do have that high-end luxury buyer, they aren't asking for 8,000 square feet.
Right.
They may say, "Hey, we want 4,500, but we want some really unique features in here." It kind of creates that intimacy. It doesn't feel like a warehouse; it feels like a home.
Yeah.
And so, some really cool things happening right now in real estate.
I was visiting with some sellers a while back, and uh, they had kids that already moved out, so it was just the two of them. It was a big two-story, probably it had to be pushing like 7,000 square feet. It was a big house. And so I'm getting the tour, and we're walking through, and we go back into this four-season porch, sunroom right off of the kitchen, and had a fireplace and nice big TV on the wall. And it's probably, I don't know, maybe 14 by 16. And I said, "Oh, this room looks really comfortable." And they're like, "Yep, we spend almost all our time in this room."
The one
And
room.
in the one room, and not
Yeah.
in the kitchen, and they sleep in the bedroom or whatever. But it's like they have 7,000 square feet. They're spending the majority of their time in that 16 by 14 room because it was comfortable. So I found that fascinating. Talking about the pros of buying a new home. Next on the list is delayed major maintenance costs such as roof or HVAC. Yeah, I mean this is a big one, right? And so a lot of times buyers ask me and they say, "Well, what's better, new construction or existing?" And I said, "Well, one of my first questions back to them is, well, how long are you gonna stay in the house? And how long do you think you're gonna stay in the house? If you look at a 10-year window and you compare existing to new, okay, the new is gonna cost you more today, but the cost of owning that house over the next 10 years for the new one is going to be minimal, right? The existing one, depending on how old it is and what age those items are, roof, window, siding, furnace, AC, the cost is going to be pretty close throughout the 10 years. So you get to that 10-year mark, and the cost to maintain and upgrade and repair that existing home, those things are going to add up over 10 years. So you're going to be at about, in most cases, about the same cost, after a 10-year example. And it is. I mean, you've got everything's new. You don't got to worry about it. Most, all the appliances got warranties. You got the builder warranty. You got, there certainly is a peace of mind that you don't have to worry about those items. Lower utility bills. Yeah, I mean this is a big one and very true. Lower utility bills as a result of stricter building codes, and I think more importantly, newer energy efficient products.
Yeah. And you kind of go to the window, right?
Yep.
Back in the day, it was a single pane, and then the storm window was a single pane, and that's kind of how they created this little barrier between the exterior and the interior, between two single pane windows. And now you have, from my understanding, unless it's like a custom window, everything has to be double pane windows.
Yep.
And just that concept of all the windows in the house or all the doors in the house being, this new style and energy efficient type of material and construction, it definitely drives down the cost.
Yeah, and you got triple pane windows, and you got windows
Yeah.
with the blinds inside the windows, and so there's some really cool, very energy efficient products out there. Last on our list of pros for buying a new home. Again, folks, we're talking about buying new versus existing. The last on our pros list is more upfront personalization And again, that's, talking about, you get to pick the colors, the floors and the countertops and the cabinets and the doors and the trim. And so you're able to really personalize that home, even with, national, some called track builders where they got, 8, 10 floor plans, so you don't really get to pick your design, but you get to personalize it, and you get to really make it your own. And then along with new construction comes those warranties that we mentioned on material, workmanship, and structural. So there's, I think this is a great comparison, new versus existing. It all depends on, I think the biggest question to answer is how long you're expecting to stay there. That's a big question, whether you're looking to build, some equity, and so we talk about all these things when we're meeting with buyers. What are your goals, and how can we help you reach those goals?
Yep. Folks, the client consultation meeting.
Yes.
Extremely important.
Extremely important.
I know if you maybe met with Mike and Mike gave you the green light to go buy houses and you haven't aligned yourself with an experienced, reputable realtor in your area, and if they say, hey, I know you want to go look at houses on Tuesday, but can we take that day and actually meet first, and so I can sit down and ask you the questions that I need to ask, maybe ask questions that you haven't thought of, or maybe just simply haven't discussed out loud yet at this time. There is so much value with that type of consultation meeting. So, if somebody's asking you to do it, the houses, there's always more coming. Don't let fear or the emotions of losing out drive and skip certain steps to the process. So
yeah, I think it's good stuff. Folks, we do appreciate you tuning in today. Best way to reach us, of course, is our website, ushometalk.com. We've got all of our fantastic partners, past shows, wonderful information about all things real estate. We will be back next Wednesday at noon. I think Mike will be joining us. And Marcus, of course, myself, and the great Evan, the great producer. We gotta come up with like a really good, tagline for Evan. Evan the Great. That sounds kind of good.
Decent. Evan, thoughts on that?
Folks, thank you for tuning in.
I think he likes it.
He does like it. That look said, I like it.
His
eyes just talked to him. Did his eyes talk to you?
Full approval.
Oh, folks, I hope you have a fantastic week. Spring is here. Hopefully there's no more snow, but we do want you to have a great week. Thank you for tuning in, and we'll be back next Wednesday at noon.